Pod on Lansdowne is pleased to welcome on in these trying times within Red Sox Nation, these unprecedented times, someone who could speak to the new interim manager just about as well as anyone that you could imagine. It's MassLive's own Katie Morrison-O'Day, friend of the program. Katie, welcome onto the show for the very first time. I can't believe it's actually been this long since we've had you on for the first time, but better late than never, I say.
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited to be here. I feel like we've had Twitter relationships for a long time, but now it's great to actually get to talk to you guys. So
We have
excited
been
to be
mutuals for some time. I believe you and Liam have been mutuals for some time. So this was a long time coming, wasn't it, Jake?
It was. Now's as good a time as any, I would say, with the recent happenings. So it's good to have you.
Yeah, in case you're living under a rock, and again, this will be in the middle of the episode coming out Wednesday, the 29th here. So obviously you know the setup if you're listening to this, but if you're coming onto YouTube here out of nowhere and you've been out of the country or something, Chad Tracy is the new interim manager for the Boston Red Sox after a couple of years spent as the actual main non-interim full-time manager of the Worcester Red Sox, which Katie has plenty of experience covering. And I wanted to start there, Katie, for folks who may... Katie, I'm already off to a great start. Katie, for people who may not be aware, what's your background in covering the Woo Sox?
Yeah, so I've been covering the Woo Sox for MassLive since they came to Worcester in 2021. I am the beat reporter. I'm there, at least like 4 times a week, 5 times a week. I got to be very involved in some different things. I've gotten to break a few call-ups here and there. Last year was obviously crazy and very fun, but it's been season number 6, and it doesn't feel like it, but that's what I've been doing.
Time does fly, and I'm sure Jake can attest to this as well, because we were just fucking around the clubhouse the day of the Marcelo Meyer call up, and we were like, "What is kind of going on here?" And I believe Liam pulled up your tweet first to say, like, "No, this is happening."
That was a crazy day. That was, I think, before Saturday. It was the craziest day there, but I think Saturday actually might top it. But that was a whirlwind. There's nothing like being in a clubhouse when you know something is happening, something is going down. You're just listening for little bits and pieces there. And so when we went in the clubhouse and he was getting all the hugs and everything, it was very obvious what had happened, and very exciting to be a part of that for sure.
Yeah, we were trying to pull Marcelo aside to ask for his like top 4 movies or something like that, but then we realized like, oh, something big's actually happening here. It was you and a couple other reporters, I believe, like standing by the steps or something like that. Then everyone rushed into the clubhouse, and me, Liam, and Jake are just kind of standing there in the dugout, being like, "Huh, that's weird." Anyways, oh, beautiful day, right? I wonder what's going on. Oh, what's the holdup there? Oh, hey, Marcelo, look who it is. Just getting the biggest news that he's ever gotten in his entire life, though. But I don't know if he wants to talk about like fever pitch or anything like that. But so that was
then. Talk about fever pitch. I mean, come on. Always.
Fair enough. Yes, and we will get to the movie talk towards the end of this conversation. You put that on next, Jake. I'm putting you in charge of remembering that in case I don't. But back to brass tacks here. Of course, Katie, you mentioned that you've been covering the Woo Sox for some time now, since they came to the heart of the Commonwealth in 2021. Of course, in that year, in December of 2021, Chad Tracy is hired as the full-time manager of the AAA club. What were your first impressions of Chad Tracy as manager?
Well, I have to set up a little bit what the first year was like, where
Sure.
we had Billy McMillan as our manager, and I believe we talked to him 3 times over the course of the year. Did not want to talk to anyone, did not want to talk to media. So my very first impression, our first press conference with Trace, I was just like, oh, this is different. This is different. This is going to make my job a lot easier. He is a guy who just loves to talk about baseball. You can ask him any dumb question, and we have asked some dumb ones. And he will actually give you something insightful, which is great for a writer, especially one who's covering sometimes the dog days of the minors, but he managed to make things interesting. And so first impression was, this guy's young, he's got a lot of energy, and exciting. I mean, he wasn't that much older. I mean, he was at some points younger than some guys on the team, which is always odd.
Yeah. Interesting there. And I always love the idea of like, and Jake, I'm sure you could speak to this as well. Just no matter the age, it's usually typically older guys, I feel, but it's awesome when it's a younger guy too. Just baseball lifers, baseball guys you could just talk shop with for hours, right, Jake?
Yeah, well, he's is there a term for this? He's not a nepo baby, like a baseball brat, like an army brat.
I like baseball brat. I like that.
Baseball brat. Yeah.
It's basically the exact same thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, his father managed, who was it? The Dodgers and
Phillies?
Which one?
Phillies?
Yeah, that sounds right. And I believe he managed Cora.
I believe that's right.
That's a small world right there.
Yes, small world.
And for those racking their brains to the mid-2000s, no, this is not that Chad Tracy who played for like the Diamondbacks and a couple of other teams. This is another Chad Tracy. When the news first broke that we were hiring Chad Tracy, I was like, oh, I remember playing with him on PS2 and MVP 05, like with the Diamondbacks. You know what I mean? So
that was the first thing I did was make sure I knew which one I was talking to. So
Dodgers, Pirates, and Rockies.
Oh, okay.
Jim Tracy, 2009 Manager of the Year. Believe that.
Wow. Well, there you go. There you have it there. Hopefully Chad Tracy can win the 2026 Manager of the Year if he can turn this around for the big club. Having spoken with Chad Tracy for years now, Katie, is there anything that jumps out to you about how he thinks about the game? Obviously, he's there to talk shop for a while, but specifically about how the game goes through his brain, whether he's in the dugout or within his own office, talking with his coaching staff, analyzing the game. Are there any highlights or hallmarks, rather, that he likes to really hone in on?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like you said, I mean, he is a baseball brat, baseball lifer. He's, seen this game for so long that the first thing I think about is kind of in contrast to maybe how some of the front office is operating in Boston. He's not a guy who like refers to like video or analytics or anything. It is all just like purely like what he's seeing on the field. He really likes to get in there with, he was a catcher and a first baseman. So he likes to really get in there and use those skills. He talks a lot about the catchers, and, it's been interesting seeing how the catcher's job has kind of evolved with ABS and all that jazz. And so he's, been very honed in there, and we've had a lot of really good defensive catchers, and, he's helped to develop some of the guys there. And, but I don't know, with him, I think that he's really good at using the group of guys that he has. I mean, you've already seen it a little bit, but using the group of guys to his advantage. Obviously, he has more restraints in the minor leagues than you will in the majors, where, I mean, we just went through a stretch where, they had to call up guys from AA to literally save the pitching staff because there were just no arms left, right?
Right.
And which makes me laugh that I don't know if this comes from Trace or who it comes from, but that Jake Bennett was scratched because he's kind of giving Iggy Suarez his first little taste of like, now you have no pitchers. I'm just gonna but he's really good at just like using the groups that he has. He's had a lot of different, iterations of teams, and I wouldn't always say that they have been, you look at the records and, they've been successful, but they haven't been the best team in the minors or anything like that. But very good at, using what he has and knowing how to use guys in a way that will, benefit the team and be good for them as much as he can, because he's been handicapped by some things,
Right. With that in mind, how do you think that informs his process when it comes to player development and, helping these younger guys grow into the players that they can become?
I mean, he's so hands-on with everything, which is, I think it's going to be great in the majors too, where I think that he's always out there. He's always hitting fungos. He's always working with guys on defense, really like getting into like the nitty gritty. Like there's a lot of just working on fundamentals, working on just, I mean, it's the minors, right? So of course that's how things are going to be, but a lot of just getting in there and working on the small things in order to help them translate into, bigger success. And I don't know, just like even thinking about the way he's worked with like Christian Campbell while he's been down here, they have a good relationship, and he worked with Campbell really closely when he was learning first base last year, which, he's not doing anymore. But, there's been a lot of a lot of like positional defensive things where the Red Sox have sent a lot of guys down there and been like, okay, teach him a new position, completely new position. And I really think that Trace took a lot of that on himself to impart whatever he could to these guys in those weird positions, you know?
Yeah, right. And obviously, with the transition from AAA to MLB, you know, with the focus in AAA being, at least from an organizational standpoint, of course, the main focus, you would like to win in AAA, but the main focus seems to be, okay, let's get these guys ready to go for the big show. A manager moving on from that sort of environment to obviously MLB, the biggest stage of all, it's a little bit of a different shift, of course. But based off your experience watching Trace, there's a term that's used by one of my favorite teams outside of baseball, my favorite soccer team. The manager has his list of what he calls non-negotiables. Like, if you're going to play for me, you have to make sure that you do X, Y, and Z, A, B, and C. If you don't do these non-negotiables, like, I'm not going to select you for the team. Outside of the work on those fundamentals working in the minors, is there any sort of aspect of the game that you could identify as potentially one of Chad Tracy's?
I did that last night. I did that on the Ponder last night.
Yeah. There you go. Me and you both, Jake. But Tracy's non-negotiables. Are there anything that you could point to, Katie, for that?
You know, on the flip side of him having those, fundamentals and things, I have to say he is a real like players manager type of guy too,
Okay.
Where I think that the guys feel, very comfortable with him and feel very supported by him, where I don't know that there have been too many cases that I can think of like over the course of the time where there certainly haven't really been cases where there's kind of like friction. Do you know what I mean? Like where somebody isn't doing what they need to do to live up to those standards or to get playing time. There hasn't been a lot of like, I'm going to move this guy to the lineup or things like that. I think that especially in the position that he was in, there is, he is definitely a players first type of guy. He has all of his guys' backs. And so in that sense, I never really saw things come up where those non-negotiables like would come out.
Fair enough.
What I mean? Yeah, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Sure. And Jake, I don't want to speak for you, but just in terms of what I've seen from the outside looking in, from both, the folks covering like Katie down in Worcester, as well as Chris Cotillo mentioned this as well. Just about everything that I've seen, Jake, for Tracy has been nothing but glowing positive reviews, like as for like the man, like from a day-to-day basis within the clubhouse.
Yeah,
And by the way, that is not the cops trying to pull you over listening to this. Yeah. That has got to be outside Jake's window.
Keep talking. Hold on.
Okay, fair enough. And I want to tee up Jake for that point as well. But I did want to ask you, Katie, in regards to building those relationships, because it's not easy within the sport. It's such a long year, right? And obviously, Tracy being, that baseball brat that we mentioned, maybe he has some sort of basis to work off of. But even guys who have been within the sport for years, we could think of a certain chief baseball officer that people have questions about in terms of forging those relationships. It's not easy for everybody. What do you think makes it so easy for Tracy to be able to connect with those younger players coming up through the system who are now going to be big parts of the big club?
Not that this is particularly unique to Chad, but he has been in those positions. He was a long time minor leaguer. He didn't crack the majors. He topped out at AAA, and he started his managerial experience with a couple of single A teams, and so it does really feel like he has lived those positions. You know what I mean? And I kind of laugh when I know that people have been saying that he looks a little bit like a mini Breslow or something. They do look a little bit similar. I just noticed.
Coley Mick pointed out that it looks like Tony Romo a little bit as well.
A little bit, yeah. I know. I'm like, I've looked at this guy so much, and now all of a sudden I'm seeing him in a different light because everybody's seeing it now. But like, think about the different situations that he's had. I think about his relationship with Jarren Duran, and Jarren was there for parts of a lot of 2021 where things were going really well, and then back in 2022, back in 2023, and having these obviously Jaren's an emotional guy. He was struggling with things, and I just think that relationship where he like trusted Chad, and he, relied on, he knew that he was putting him in the best, I think he knew that he was putting him in the best position to succeed and to get back to where he wanted to be. And I think you have to take a gentle approach sometimes. You know what I mean? You have to build these guys up. You have to know when to leave them alone. You have to know when a guy can handle things on his own. You have to know when a guy needs extra support. And I think that whatever it is, Trace is pretty in tune with those things. He is able to meet these players and kind of get a sense of like what they need and how they operate. And, there are a lot of different personalities. We have, someone like Nate Eaton, who's kind of like a military brat, military school kid. And he's just like,
Brat is the word of the interview.
Yeah, I know, right? Now it's in my head. And, he's very confident, high confidence, doesn't need that like rah boost, whereas there have been guys that come through here that do need a little bit of that, or do need some extra meetings, and do need some, an extra boost, and that knowing that they're doing things the right way. And so I don't know, he's just been very, very good at identifying like kind of what makes a guy tick in the clubhouse,
Yeah, you said the exact word that I have written down here in my notes. I was going to ask if he's a big sort of rah sort of guy in terms of motivating guys, or is he more, arm around the shoulder, kind of in solitude, maybe more tempered, somewhere in between. Sounds like he's a bit of like a chameleon in that sense, whatever, kind of case by case basis.
I would say that is definitely like chameleon is a good word for it, because he is, and not to say that he changes his personality. His personality is his personality.
Right.
You guys will get to know it, but I mean, it's a very difficult thing to manage all of these different relationships, and manage guys who are coming up and excited, manage guys who are getting sent down and in a bad place. I mean, I loved that the first reliever he brought in as a major league manager was Zach Kelly, because Zach Kelly, it's never an opening day at Bullard Park without Zach Kelly, and we love him. But he's been in the minors, for parts of 6 seasons now, and he was there again, and Trace knows how to operate with him. They have a good relationship. He knows he doesn't need a boost. He doesn't need a rah. He knows what his role is. He knows where he's at. But there have been some younger guys that have come up where they do need. I think when you say like the arm around the shoulder, the kind of more private moments, I think that's kind of his MO a little bit too, where he's not a big speech in the clubhouse, let's go get him type of guy. It really is just knowing what every individual needs, and kind of operating on that, which seems really exhausting to me, to know what everybody needs in those moments. But yeah, he's pretty good at that for sure.
Yeah, over the course of 100 and some odd games, I know I couldn't do that.
No, I could do it for like a week, and then I would need a nap.
Yeah, no kidding. Jake, did you have a question to drown out the beeping in the big city?
No, I guess, I mean, that's an interesting, like, I guess I don't think of Alex Cora as, like, an extreme, like, rah-rah sort of guy, but he has that sort of kind of edge sometimes, and, like, I think that's an interesting distinction where, from everything you've said, like, Chad Tracy really doesn't have that, that sort of, like, rough edge. And so I was wondering, like, from somebody who watched, I guess, past tense, Chad Tracy manage, do you think this is like kind of a hint towards like maybe the Sox are more interested in like development right now, even with the big club?
I definitely think so. I mean, the fact that this is their guy, I mean, I do think that that's his strength, and especially the combination of him and Jose David Flores, they were really close from 2022 to 2024 when Flo was the bench coach in Worcester, and they were both they just really have a mind towards development, I think. And I do think it's going to be interesting. Obviously, I don't know, but it's going to be interesting to see how that translates across like working with veterans, and how does that translate over the course of an MLB season. I'm not sure, but with so many young guys like on this club that they want to move. I mean, we had talked about Roman a little bit, and I talked to other people who had talked to him about Roman, and they were kind of thinking like we had him hitting leadoff, or they had him hitting leadoff in Worcester all the time because they needed to get him as many at bats as possible. It was just developmental. It was not a roster or a lineup construction point. And I think the Red Sox want him to take the next step, right? They need a guy in the lineup to deliver that big hit, to deliver those home runs, whatever. And so, is making this move towards, development. Do they want to see him work with Roman and keep, pushing him towards the next iteration of what they want him to be? I think there's still, it sure seems like to me that there is still a good amount of development to be done. Not to say that these young guys are not absolutely holding their own and playing great, but I don't think that they're at their obviously like final form. Yeah.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask if you see that mindset that Tracy's had in AAA, like again, constructing a lineup maybe with, the top of mind thing being just getting your best prospect as many ABs as possible, as many looks before he gets the call up. I was going to ask if that shift into MLB, would that be something that you foresee as maybe not so much of a challenge or a hurdle, but maybe part of the learning curve as he gets to obviously, guys like Meyer and Roman could, benefit from some development. Even, Willie Abreu, a guy that he had seen earlier on in his tenure, has he made his final form yet? Probably not. He's still young enough of a guy. Is there a bit of a learning curve, do you think, ahead of him now as he begins this interim stint as the manager?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think so. I mean, I think there's a lot of different. I mean, I wonder how he's going to like kind of make his stamp on this team, how to, kind of establish himself as the manager of the Red Sox versus the interim manager, the guy from the minor leagues who's there to help guys develop, right? That's just a part of the job. And it's kind of interesting. Like I imagine he might feel like he almost has so many choices compared to what he's dealt with in the minors, where you're getting often before he makes his lineup, he's getting messages from the front office to tell him what they want, or from Brian Abraham or whatever, tell him what they want, what they need. I mean, I'm really interested to see how he manages a big league pitching staff, because it's so different in AAA. It's been so different over these past couple of years because everybody's on pitch limits. The Red Sox hold guys out. They want to, wait on guys. I mean, look at with Peyton Tolle, he didn't pitch for like 9 days or something like that before he got called up. So managing a big league pitching staff, a big league club with so many options is going. I think it's going to be a challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. When I was drafting up notes for this, Katie, I did initially put down this question, but then through the course of the conversation, I'm thinking, well, maybe it might be a bit of a fool's errand to kind of start thinking about, what the in-game management is going to look out, because it is a different game in AAA. It is a different set of objectives that the organization on a micro and a macro level are trying to anticipate. But even with that in mind, is there anything specifically with Chad Tracy that we should be keeping our eye on when it comes to in-game management? Directives from the front office in Boston be damned. Like when it comes to platooning or anything like that, being quick with the hook for pitchers. Does he like to send guys on the run a lot? Is there anything that we might be able to keep in the back of our mind now that he's managing the Boston Red Sox as opposed to the Worcester Red Sox?
Yeah, I think I would look mostly towards what the offense does. It's hard for me to judge, like you said, like quick hook or things like that, because he's been so handicapped. But I think that, like I said, he likes to use the roster that he has. And over the years, they've had a good amount of scrappy guys. I mean, they had Jaron hitting top of the lineup for a couple of years for him, or parts of a couple of years. And I kind of actually miss like the way it was when Jaron was hitting at the top of the lineup in Worcester, because he would just get on base and do crazy things. I mean, obviously the stakes are a lot lower. I'm not saying he's going to do that or he should do that in the majors, but I just think that there's a willingness to like try things. There's a willingness to I don't know, to create to play small ball, to create a little chaos, to they've had I mean we had David Hamilton for a while. That was fun,
Brave Dave.
yeah, showing off that speed. Now they have Braden Ward, maybe you guys know him from the throwing the bat towards the pitcher incident.
Yeah.
um, but he's back after 7 games, and there's like they were using him a lot to just wreak havoc on the bases. The other thing is kind of a, I don't know, a random thing, but I think that the Woo Sox have used the challenge system pretty well over the course of.
That's
yeah.
a good point there.
It's a low bar to clear
for
that
this.
in Boston.
No kidding. And before you continue with that, Katie, I just want to highlight a comment in the YouTube chat, youtube.com/Appon and Lansdowne. Eric in the chat goes, I'm interested to see how Tracy changes how the team uses the ABS system since they've had it in the minors before this season. So with that in mind, why don't you inform us on that, Katie? Take it away.
Yeah, I think that he puts a lot of trust in his players to use it correctly. But at the same time, I hadn't seen them. There was definitely a learning process, right? I mean, for a couple of years, we had half the week was straight robot umps, and then half the week was the challenge system. So, there's been a lot of adjusting, but I think that he knows how to hang on to challenges, but he's not afraid to use them either. Like they will let him fly in the 3rd inning, 4th inning. But I'm not sure what his message exactly has been to guys, but obviously it's coming from the top here, and I feel that the Woo Sox have been pretty good at using them. They don't run out of challenges very often, and I think I would say the hitters use them a lot to their advantage. There have been some dramatic moments where they've overturned calls in big moments, and I love it. The crowd is really into it.
The crowd pop in Cincinnati, even when they were going against the Red Sox a couple of weeks ago, I couldn't deny how electric the crowd pops were.
Yeah, 100%. So I feel like those stick out to me because there have been some big moments that have relied on ABS, and they've had their challenges, so they will use them. But I have not seen the Woo Sox use them irresponsibly, but they know it's a tool. They know it's a tool they got to use it. They got to try it, and I feel like more times than not they've been using it right.
Gotcha. So, I mean, again, like Jake said, not to echo his point, but the bar is in hell for the major league team to do well, especially with the ABS challenge.
I mean, even last night, I thought they were more open to using it than they had been the last 3 weeks. They got spooked by that first weekend in Cincinnati.
I think
and
so.
I think Trace probably was like, hey, it's here, we can use it.
You've seen balls and strikes your entire life.
Yeah, exactly. And they've had it for so long. Where it's funny, it feels so new. It's just been a part of life in baseball for a couple of years in the minors. You know what I mean?
When did it start in the minors?
It started not last year, but the year before.
Gotcha.
And so and it wasn't at every park. That was them phasing it in. Last year it was everywhere. And last year was more like what it is now, less robot umps, more like what the major league side is like. But I'm gonna make a bold prediction that the ABS, that the challenge system, the challenges, that people are gonna be happier with how they're being used, going forward now. I just feel that I haven't had moments where I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that now? But you got to use them, they're part of the game.
Yeah.
Got to use it.
For sure. Now, Katie, outside of just winning, obviously, because that's an obvious huge check mark that would make a successful Chad Tracy tenure, what does a successful tenure for Trace look like to the point where he might become the full-time manager of the Boston Red Sox if blank happens?
If blank happens, I mean, I think that the number one thing right now is going to be if he can keep this clubhouse just kind of calm and going in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? I think that that's been a feature of not that a minor league clubhouse is going to be quite as volatile or as a major league clubhouse at times, and especially not like with what's happening right now with the Red Sox, but it has the Blue Sox clubhouses have always been very calm, not ever, there's no toxicity, just guys get along. I think that bringing that sort of sense of calm and that sort of sense of like, let's just block out the outside noise and focus on our mission is going to be like the number one thing that is going to be like a sign of success. So I guess what that would be hopefully, like not as many Chris Cotillo stories about, things happening in the clubhouse or whatever. Let's just, if they could just block out the noise. I think that you're going to want to look first at how the individual, especially the guys that he's close with, especially the young guys. I think we're going to want to look at how they're playing, how things are going for them throughout the season, maybe more so even than the win total right away, because I think that you'll be able maybe to see his mark a little bit more on these individuals at first. Like I said, I think that coming in as an interim manager and putting your stamp, your brand of baseball, like putting your stamp on the team is going to be difficult. So I think you want to look at how, how is Marcelo doing? Is he using him in different ways, and is that working? Things like that. And so, I think that setting a win total or anything like that would, is going to be tough. But I want to see things. I want to see quiet and calm and like just focus. I think that those would be the things that are big.
Yeah, clubhouse drama would be nice to not have for a change. Although Jake loves the drama. Jake loves to get into the slot.
I said I tweeted out yesterday like, sorry, I love Hit Piece Day. I was having a blast. It's fun.
It's fun.
Sorry. Well, one of the worst things, Fitz, I think we said it when we did our emergency pod on Saturday. It was like one of the worst things you could say about the 2026 Red Sox was that they were boring. It was a boring
Very
team.
boring.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
No. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Over the last 72 hours, they have absolutely proven that to be the case.
Yeah.
Now, Katie, shifting gears here, very important business to get onto now that you're on Pod on Lansdowne. Jake, do you want to give the lay of the land of what letter Sox is? It's a very simple concept.
Well, I had one more question. I have one more baseball question.
Pardon me. Well, we'll go back to business, back to ball talk.
Yeah.
Pod on Lansdowne doesn't talk enough about baseball. They talk about their silly movies. Jake's here to quash that notion.
Katie, as someone who watches the Woo Sox every day,
Mm-hmm.
can we have like a small, it doesn't have to be an extensive report, but like a little down on the farm, like who are you excited about? Who should I be excited about? Are we thinking, I don't know, who's popping down there?
Okay. All right. I can do that. Well, I mean, first of all, I've got to start with the guy who got scratched from the start tonight. I mean, Jake Bennett has been awesome.
Yes.
He's just been dominant. I'm like really excited to see what I can do. I mean, he's big, lanky guy. I'm excited to see how things go with him. But some of the other guys, I just wrote a story about Tayron Guerrero, who is like a 35-year-old who has been in the majors before, but not since like 2019. But he was working with Aroldis Chapman a little bit during the offseason, during spring training. He's got a big, powerful fastball. He actually hit 104 in the majors before.
Ooh.
Yeah, and like I said, that was 6 years ago or so. But I mean, he's 6'8". I remember him. He made an impression on me right away on media day because he had his arms by his side and he turned and elbowed me in the head. And I was like, who is this man? 6'8". He is ginormous. He's just got a very powerful fastball, and his big like bugaboo, whatever, over his career has been command.
Yeah.
And that has not been a problem this year at all, which is I don't know if part of it is because the Red Sox worked with him. He used to throw a 4-seam fastball all the time. They want him throwing a 2-seamer more, and I think he's locating that better. He's just fastball slider. So I mean, he's a guy that obviously doesn't have options or anything like that, but if there was a 40-man spot that opened up, I really think he's interesting. let me see who else. Actually, so I mean, the guys that we know, Christian Campbell has been looking a lot better lately.
Thank God.
Yes, I've been
yes.
keeping tabs. I've been keeping tabs on that one.
You can see it, like,
Yeah.
you know, you really can. He looked a bit lost like last year. You know what I mean? He just didn't feel like the confidence was there. Didn't feel like the swing was there. Didn't feel like the decisions were there, the plate decisions. And he's hitting the ball hard now. You know, even if he's hitting it where people are, he's having good at bats, hitting the ball hard. He just looks more like himself. So that's a big relief.
How's he looking defensively?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Okay.
I think there's still things that they want to work on with him, but since they don't have him playing just every old position wherever they think they want him now, it's a little bit easier to judge. But that's definitely, defense has definitely been a point of focus down there. I like the way Mikey Romero has been looking. You know, he's like one of the youngest guys on the team, but he's been going pretty well. I mean, they have some interesting guys. The pitching staff, I'm going to be honest, a little light right now, but especially since they took Tolley from us.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's.
Oh, actually, I have a question. Speaking of pitching staff,
Yeah.
I know that his assignment clause coming up, I think Friday. Tommy Canley.
Right.
How do you feel? How's he looking to you?
He has looked pretty good. It's just I am interested to see what's going to happen because I feel like we haven't seen a lot of him yet. But the few times we have seen him, he has looked good. But I don't know if he's put together enough of a body of work this season to you know to opt out. I think that there's a chance that they hang on to him, and especially if if it feels like there's a spot for him. But I'm not calling anything, but I think he's definitely an interesting guy that might stick around. Yeah.
Okay. Fitz, any guys you
No, I kind of covered the bases there on that.
Yeah.
I like the down on the farm sort of segment. If only Section 10 didn't steal the exact phrasing of that, down on the farm. We'll come up with our own branding for it. And we should have Katie on maybe like once a month, once every other month to do a AAA check-in. That actually great. I just thinking of that idea. We'll have our people call your people, and we'll maybe set something up there. But in the meantime, yes, exactly, yes. In the meantime, Jake, the floor is yours for Lettersoxed.
Okay, so Katie, you're like pretty online, I feel like. Are you familiar with Letterboxd, the movie, the app, and you're familiar with when they go to premieres or whatever and they hold the mic up? What's your 4 favorite movies to actors? And okay, so
it's just that.
But we made it Lettersoxed because we're a Red Sox podcast. But we also enjoy lots of pop culture. So
okay.
Your 4 favorite movies, what are they?
4 favorite movies. I feel like this one's kind of lame now, but I've always been like a huge Moneyball fan.
Oh
no, that's not lame
at
all.
Wonderful movie.
Okay. I'm like, I will watch that one just like all the time. Just like a comfort movie.
Yeah, that snappy Sorkin screenplay, we love it.
Listen, I can't help it. Let's see. I would also throw as just like another. I'm such a boss. The Departed would also probably be in there.
That's on mine.
You're on the right show.
Yeah. Let me see. This one's really dorky. It's this movie from 1934. It's called It Happened One Night. It's like a screwball comedy, and it's just like my absolute like feel good movie that I will just like watch like anytime, and it makes me laugh and smile. But so that's, no one else has said that one, I bet.
I would say no. Jake's the cinephile. He knew it there, but I don't think anyone said that one.
And then I guess, let's see, for my last one, this one's kind of a random one too, but it's always been like one of my favorites. that silent and black and white movie, The Artist, from like 2011.
Interesting. Best
picture winner.
Best
James.
picture winner. I remember like seeing that in theaters like twice, and I will just like always just watch it and be like, wow, cinema is so amazing. That one's just like pure, just like, wow, the movies are so cool sort of thing. So yeah, it's a good smattering of stuff, but those would be some fun. Yeah, let's go with those four.
That sounds like a good list to me.
That was a good list. Solid stuff.
We were just making Departed references during our Emergency Cora episode Saturday night, as a matter of fact.
Listen, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, Jake, 2 weeks with pay.
That's 2 weeks with pay.
Yeah,
right,
we made that reference. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
there you go. Officially, Leather Sox there. Final question that I have for you, Katie.
Yeah.
Will you be on the Woo Sox beat on Saturday, June 27th?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay,
Pot
we'll
on
be there as
Lansdowne
well.
Day, the official designation by the Worcester Red Sox. Pot on Lansdowne Day.
It'll be Pot on Madison Day. I think that's what street they're on.
I don't know off the top of my head. Pod by Kelly Square, I
Pod
guess.
by Kelly Square.
There you go. Yeah,
Find out.
we're throwing out the first pitch, and that's a reminder to the audience as well.
That's
Saturday, June
awesome.
27th in Worcester.
Madison Street. That's correct.
There you go. Nailed it.
Look at that.
There you go.
That was
Woo.
catchy.
Yeah, right. But no, we will see you there, my friend. In the meantime, Katie, if people want to find more from you, where can they go?
You can find me on Twitter at KatieMo61. The 61 is because I'm a big Bronson Arroyo fan.
Yes.
Shout out. But and then I'm on Instagram at photos by KMO. I do a lot of photography work, and so you'll find some Woo Sox stuff over there too.
Absolutely. Follow along there, folks. Follow along. Again, that is Katie Morrison-O'Day of MassLive, giving us the rundown on our new interim manager, potentially full-time manager down the line. Who knows what's going to happen down the line. But in the meantime, Katie, we thank you very much for joining us on the program. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Thank you.